Chinese President Xi Jinping has hailed the China Central Asia Summit a success as he wraps up the landmark two-day meeting in Xi'an. A joint declaration was signed in a ceremony following a roundtable meeting today.
这次峰会为各国合作开了一个好头。我坚信，在大家共同努力下，中国同中亚国家关系的航船一定能够乘风破浪，勇毅前行，为六国发展振兴增添新助力，为地区和平稳定注入强大的正能量。谢谢大家。
Mr. Xi has pledged up to $3.8 billion in loans and grants in a new grand development plan for this resource-rich region. All these will help build infrastructure and boost trade as Beijing seeks to bolster its Belt and Road Initiative. China is seeking a leadership role in Central Asia, filling a void left by Russia's war because Russia is preoccupied in Ukraine. President Xi also called on Central Asia to fully unleash its potential in trade, economy and infrastructure cooperation, urging countries to unite against any attempt to divide them. And for more, CNA's Lo Minmin joins us live from Shanghai. Minmin, how significant is this summit for China?
Very significant because these countries have signed 8 MOUs agreeing to deepen cooperation in many areas, including trade and energy, transportation networks and institutional building. These are very concrete outcomes for an inaugural summit, which China hails as the very first major diplomatic event that they're hosting this year. And they're now passing the baton on to Kazakhstan, which will host the next summit in 2 years' time. These countries have agreed to establish a permanent secretariat for the mechanism here in China, and they're united by many shared interests, including China's long-standing concern over terrorism and ethnic conflict in the northwestern Xinjiang province, which shares a border with Central Asia. And so China is pledging to help these countries strengthen their capacity to fight against terrorism. President Xi himself cautioning against external interference and attempts to instigate color revolutions, saying that the sovereignty, security and independence of Central Asia must be upheld, and China stands ready to assist them in ensuring peace. Now, there are trade ties at stake too. China pledging to encourage companies to invest there and create more jobs in Central Asia and accelerate the building of a gas pipeline that will feed China's appetite for more oil and gas.
We see President Xi there taking a very prominent role hosting this summit in Xi'an. And then at the very same time, we have Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida hosting the G7 summit in Hiroshima. Is it too much to interpret this timing, these things taking place at the same time as a strategic move for China?
It is a strategic move. China has already hit back at what it expects would be a hostile communique coming out of G7, saying that there is no need to target or decouple from China, and saying that the U.S. is the one engaging in a form of coercive diplomacy that is abusing its national powers to suppress China and even threatening other countries to do the same. And so China is now trying to woo other like-minded countries like the Central Asian countries to counter what it sees as a U.S.-dominated global order, and increased hostility from G7 is only going to accelerate that. Remember that Central Asia was once a part of the former Soviet Union, and so they're traditionally seen as being under the firm grip of Russia. But the Ukraine war has changed that, and analysts say China is now swooping into this power vacuum to position itself as a reliable security and economic partner. But remember, the U.S. is also vying for influence there, with the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visiting the region in February, pledging to increase aid by $20 million. But experts say China is succeeding in setting itself up as a viable alternative to an interventionist West.
Thanks so much for Lo Minmin speaking to us live there from Shanghai.